Hello everyone and welcome to a late night midnight stream because anytime's a good time to play some Game Boy, but I'm not alone on this late night. I am joined by...
Hello, I'm Stellar Steel, also known as Andrew. I'm just absolutely love Game Boy. I'm really glad that Game Boy and Game Boy Advance came to the Switch Online. Finally. I have no clue why they put N64, even SNES, after or before Game Boy. It's amazing to finally have it on here, and you sure really have a small selection so far. But to me, all we need is Super Mario Land 2, and I'll be happy.
Okay, so assuming I have everything set up correctly, you hopefully just heard other Andrew there talk about his excitement in regard to the Game Boy being released on the Switch. If there's any volume issues, please let me know. Hopefully everyone sounds, we're both kind of level there, but I can of course make adjustments if we're not. But yeah, it's so strange that even before we got N64 before Game Boy, you would have figured it would have gone the other way around. And of course, the Switch being a portable console, you would have thought we'd get Game Boy much sooner. But here it is, finally. The rumors came true. And yeah, we're going to play through some original Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games tonight. But it looks to me like I gotta get things updated here, as I don't even have it installed yet. So while we get ready, I'll be doing that then. But you've been checking it out a little bit already. So how do you feel about it, Andrew?
I feel great about it. Thank you so much for asking. I gotta say, I played a little bit mainly on handheld mode because I figured, that's the best way to play Game Boy. I feel like the more kind of emulation experience. I did notice a bit of lag. I was using my wireless Pro controller, kind of awkward way to play it through handheld, but I think all the apps have a little bit of lag, but this one seemed a little bit more noticeable to me. I did adjust to it over time. I'm already halfway through Mario Land 2.
Nice.
Really fun though. It's got I don't know if SNES or N64 have, there's a filter you can apply to where you can make kind of like a dot matrix almost look kind of filter to the Game Boy, and I think it looks really nice. I know scan lines and stuff usually have been a problem with a variety of different emulation methods, but I think this looks pretty nice with the dot matrix kind of look. And I've been using in Game Boy Pocket, of course, because that's how I grew up with the Game Boy.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to check out some of the different filters and such there. I'll admit, I'm not the biggest fan of the old green Game Boy look. Yeah, it's cool to check out for a little bit, get that true nostalgic retro feel. But at the end of the day, I definitely like either the crisp, grayscale, or of course, now I don't even mind the colorization that the Game Boy Color did to Game Boy Black and White games. That can look good sometimes too, but the green's a little much sometimes, I find.
Right, yeah, exactly. I will say the monochrome kind of look, or the kind of dot matrix look they give it, it does make the screen a little dark. So it depends on whatever display. If you're playing on Switch and handheld, turn your brightness up, which is going to consume more battery. But they're Game Boy games though, so that shouldn't be too bad. Or if you're on a monitor, turn your brightness up. But yeah, that's one thing I did notice. And I think it's interesting talking about the 3DS here, because there's two things that can be talked about with the Game Boy. Tetris was delisted from the 3DS a while ago due to the original owner of the Tetris, or the guy who originally created Tetris. He finally got his rights to it. One of the things he did was he took off Tetris from the eShop. I don't know if it actually was his intention, but
let's see though. Is Tetris going to be here? There you go. That looks like 9 games that come right out of the box, with Wario Land 3 being the biggest. I don't get it. Game & Watch Gallery 3, Wario Land 3. There's not even Mario Land 1, just Mario Land 2. This makes no sense.
I gotta say, after the Direct, I was thinking to myself, this is so strange. Are we gonna get more than just what they showed? No, they're just giving us what they showed. It's a very small selection, because the Game Boy library has what? As much, if not more, than the NES. I know you're the NES master here, but
how do we want to order these things?
But yeah, it's so strange. Why not put the original Super Mario Land? I mean, to be fair, I don't think it's that amazing as Super Mario Land 2. It's weird because where's Wario Land 2 and Wario Land 1? Why Wario Land 3? I mean, Wario Land 3 is a great game, but it's interesting. Also, Alone in the Dark. I didn't even know there was a Game Boy version of Alone in the Dark until the Direct. I think that's so interesting, and it's such a late release as well. If you check it out on details, it shows 2001. I'm like, wow.
We got details here. That's a weird inclusion, huh? But yeah, it just makes no sense. Like when they announced Game & Watch Gallery 3 during the Direct, I'm like, okay, well that means obviously 1 and 2 will be there as well. They're just pointing out 3 specifically because it's like the best one. But no, it just apparently they really skipped some games there.
Yeah, it's so strange, I gotta say, how they added these games. I'm not complaining the games they added. You know, Kirby's Dream Land, excellent. Mario Land 2, as I said. Wario Land 3, Game & Watch Gallery 3. Metroid 2, of course, you can't go wrong with Tetris. Gargoyle's Quest, amazing, and then such like I think the 2 like underrated gems are definitely Gargoyle's Quest, and then probably Alone in the Dark as well, like an unexpected title to put on there.
Yeah, very strange. So it looks like you edit the filter from here. It looks like Game Boy Pocket.
Yeah, you gotta go to like
Color.
the gear icon on the that menu. It's interesting. I don't think the SNES, NES, or N64 had. If you see the reproduce classic feel, I will show you an example on the 2 filters.
Like it gets like a bit of a blur. I'm a pixel perfect kind of person. I'm someone who enjoys playing my retro games on like a CRT TV and stuff, but when the opportunity arises, I don't mind seeing like those nice crisp pixels either. But all right.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly interesting, though. The selection is pretty small, and I think Nintendo's been doing this for a while with their online games, but this is, I think, the smallest we've had yet, right? It seems like it.
How many came out when N64 came out?
I thought it was at least 10 games.
Huh.
Let me double check this.
This is funky. It's like so big. Like I've played on Game Boy Player and stuff a lot, but this is huge.
Yeah, immediately after the Direct got over, I downloaded the app, and then I just like laid in my bed and just like played this on my Switch. I'm like, this is great. I think it's best played in handheld, but it is weird how they're doing it with blown up. People are saying like, are they really gonna put Game Boy on because it's blowing up that small screen? It's so weird, but they did it finally, and it's been in the game's code, the Game Boy emulator, I think, since either 2018, 2019. Or the Switch's codes. I don't know why they took so long to finally put Game Boy on.
Yeah, like right, it's a really strange one for sure. And then it makes you wonder. And I'm shocked that they did Game Boy and Game Boy Advance at the same time. You figured it would have been like, okay, Game Boy, and then maybe like in a year from now they'll do Game Boy Advance to split things up a bit. But no, they really dropped it all at once, which really surprised me.
Yeah, they did do that, but I guess the way they kind of counteracted that, like, all right, we're gonna put both Game Boy and Game Boy Advance on here, but we're going to give it a small library of games at first, which I do think is very strange to do that. But I'm not gonna complain considering it took them long enough. People wanted Metroid 2 and Metroid Fusion so badly when Metroid Dread was coming out, and now they're finally getting what they wanted.
Exactly, right? And then suddenly that Metroid Prime announcement came out of nowhere. Yeah, very interesting Direct. It was a little slow for the first half, but then it really kind of picked up later on. But yeah, this is playing really well so far. Really cool to see, although still, I can't believe there's no Mario Land 1. Like, literally just Mario Land 2, and all these sequels, like Wario Land 1. 3 is such a weird one to start with. It would be like releasing Mario Party 3 before the other ones. Like, it just, I have no idea what they were thinking.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what's going on with that for Nintendo. Maybe there were some emulation problems or something. I honestly feel like that maybe... I did notice a few glitches, at least playing in the kind of like the classic look on the Game Boy Pocket mode. I was looking at the Mario statue and kind of like the tongue like was glitching out and stuff. I don't know if that was in the original, but you might see a few like visual quirks here and there, I've noticed. I don't know if maybe that's why they took so long to put the emulator or the Game Boy games online out, because maybe there was some bugs and stuff that Nintendo wanted to iron out. I don't know, Nintendo's been kind of, I guess, shaky with their emulation in recent times, especially you've seen with the N64 Online app. They had to patch that up, and maybe they wanted to wait because they're like, all right, we better do this right, otherwise we're going to get criticism.
Yeah, the independent people put together better emulators than Nintendo sometimes. But yeah, everyone, thanks for checking out the stream. We're just going to be checking out what's available on the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance apps tonight. Maybe even playing a little bit of multiplayer here. I'm joined by other Andrew, who's also on YouTube, and he's free to plug any of his channels that he wishes. But otherwise, otherwise, yeah, what games do we want to see? Looks like the Oracle games will be coming soon, the Zeldas, which are going to be great, and I'm sure we'll get, the Wario Lands and the Game & Watch galleries and stuff to fill in all of those gaps. So it will be fascinating to see where they go from here, for sure. And Miles Luigi, I see you're in the chat. Thanks for joining. Alexander, RC Shaggy, Azul. Again, thanks everyone for sticking around. And Clayhead. Yeah, it's just some late night Game Boy. I always used to, when I was a kid, I'd try to play my Game Boy under the covers so that my parents didn't find out. And be like, oh my god, I want to stay up late. Have like the worm light before I had a Game Boy Advance. Actually, I never got an SP. I went right from the fat Game Boy to a DS, which was when I could finally, play my games backlit. But, here we are playing Game Boy late at night, just like the good old days.
Without having to worry about our parents grilling us. Because,
yeah, now I'm the only one up, and they're in bed.
yeah, how the tables have turned. Yeah, Game Boy, like, it's so nice to finally have it on here. I did a little bit of research. It looks like the N64 Online launched with the same amount of the same number of titles as the Game Boy Online, so 9 for both.
Okay.
So I think it's a little interesting.
There's a secret here.
They're skimping out on us a little bit, but I'm hoping honestly Nintendo doesn't slow down with the I hope they do like stop the drip feed, because like now we have Game Boy Advance. There's so much to work with here, especially for Game Boy, and I'm hoping we see the Mega Man games on Game Boy, the Donkey Kong Land games, just so much like potential.
I know there was an invisible block around here somewhere, which is why I'm doing things that seem probably not very sensible. It might have been there. Seems like in this game, whenever there's like an empty brown block, it means that there's other invisible blocks near it. I know there was a secret around here, but honestly, lives are so easy to get into this game, it doesn't really matter. So let's just keep playing. But yeah, so that makes sense then. It also makes sense why not many N64 games were released, because again, we know of like a handful. But I'm assuming we won't be getting N64 games every month anymore, and they'll probably, do Game Boy one month and then 64 another month or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's strange, with the N64 as well. Like, Nintendo kind of fell off after that. They're like, all right, GoldenEye coming soon, which apparently means wait half a year to get it. I don't know. Interesting definition of soon for them. And then also, now we have Mario Party 3, the 2 Pokemon Stadiums, and then Excite Bike 64 and 1080 snowboarding. But there really isn't no set in stone dates for those yet. They're just kind of releasing them whenever they want to. At least with GoldenEye, they did that.
Yeah, that was funny, that GoldenEye coming soon. I wasn't expecting it to be 6 months. I thought maybe that would mean like later that month, but it meant quite a while. And then these all of a sudden, it's like, alright, they're available later today. No time to prepare yourself. Just all being dumped on you at once. Yeah, interesting day, for sure. And it's weird to have streamed earlier, and now suddenly be streaming this again, but you know what, why not? And there's a weird momentum thing in this game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I had to notice there's a little bit of input lag, too. Yes, I think one of the reasons why they took so long to release the Game Boy Online, they're picking this sweet spot to put it in. Next month is when the 3DS and Wii U shops, they're done with purchasing anything on there. And because of that, the Game Boy stuff's disappearing. But this is the perfect opportunity to say, hey, we're getting rid of our old stuff, get our new stuff now. And, sure, there's, like, not really a whole lot compared to the 3DS and Wii U shop, but, like, they're like, all right, hey, don't worry about our old, services going away. We're still gonna, have some of our games on here. Maybe an extra game or two, like Alone in the Dark. That wasn't on 3DS or Wii U.
Well, that's it. Like, half of my theory now in that Pokemon Game Boy on the Switch video has come true with Gens 1 and, with the Game Boy app now being there. It's very possible they could add Pokemon at some point, to coincide with the release of Stadium games now. You just never know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say as well, your theory, I very much like that theory. I put a little bit of my own, like, kind of work into it too, talking about, like, maybe we'll finally get, Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, considering this is around when the eShops are going to close, and this seems like a perfect opportunity to finally release these, emulators with variety of games on them. And, like, Pokemon Day is also coming up at the end of this month. I could see this being a perfect opportunity for Game Freak, the Pokemon company, Nintendo, to say, hey, we've got the original Pokemon games, they're coming to the Switch Online, and I feel like this is kind of like warming up regarding your theory.
Yeah, it will be fascinating to see. So here we just unlocked one of the secret levels in Super Mario Land, and that's the thing about this game, is there's just a lot of really pointless secret levels that don't do anything, but they're there if you want to unlock them. I think this game has like, what, 31 or 32 exits? It's a really arbitrary number, but then I guess Mario World had 96, so it's not much better.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I also gotta say as well, when you're playing this, I always forget about this game has an easy mode. I don't remember what what differences there are in the easy mode, because I've never played it, and honestly I wish I knew about it as a kid. But, I mean, this game's still not really difficult, even with or without the easy mode.
Yeah, we've talked before, like, the most difficult part is definitely Wario's castle, because otherwise the whole thing is open world, take on which world you want in whatever order, and then suddenly you get the Wario's castle, which is like the designated final challenge, and the difficulty just skyrockets. And I know as a kid, if you use easy mode in Wario's castle, there's like more of those breakable blocks to stand on, and I think the hands don't come down as fast to try and crush you, so there's definitely some advantages there. You hope they pick some weird titles for the Game Boy. What titles would you consider weird? Yeah, the Game Boy had a lot of funky stuff, especially a lot of third-party stuff. It will be fascinating to see just where they go. Like Pocket Bomberman, pretty cool. Pokemon trading card game coming out. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy about that. I love the Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy, especially the Japanese exclusive sequel. But hey, I'll even take the first one. That's pretty cool. I mean, if they're doing the Pokemon trading card game, it's just another hint that the other Pokemon games could be coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I will say one game I'm super hyped for: Kirby Tilt and Tumble. This game was actually falsely labeled as being on the 3DS eShop. In the Kirby anniversary, like you get like that 2012 special edition with like those 6 Kirby games on the Wii. It said in the manual, Kirby Tilt and Tumble released in 3DS eShop, but it never was. And what's interesting is Kirby Tilt and Tumble, very possible to play that game on the 3DS, because I mean, that has a gyro scope, or gyro sensor. But the Switch does as well, and Kirby Tilt and Tumble's it's that special, game with the cartridge with the, the gyro sensor built in. It revolves around, kind of like that strange, like Nintendo with the Wii remote and all that fun stuff. That's a very cool game to re-release, because I'm pretty sure it's never been re-released, and that cartridge is starting to skyrocket for the Game Boy Color.
Yeah, it's definitely an uncommon one, and it's really cool to see that they would re-release that, with the Switch controls, as everything seems to have a gyro built into it today, so yeah, that's great to see. But here we're trying out some Wario Land 3 now. We've skipped the first two, who needs them? Right to the third one. I love Wario Land 3. I actually replayed pretty much the original trilogy on the 3DS eShop, but it was back in 2017, which again does not feel like it should have been that long ago. So yeah, it's cool to be able to experience them again through the Switch. And if you're going to play any of them, Wario Land 3 is a pretty darn good one to play. But again, thanks everyone for joining tonight. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you've all recovered from the Nintendo Direct earlier today. What happened was I watched the Nintendo Direct, I ate dinner, I beat the NES game Kid Nicky. Don't touch that game. No, it wasn't as bad. I think even the AVGN did a review of it, so I'm going to have to look that up. I think it's one of his newer reviews. And then, now I rested a bit and we're streaming again, and I'm joined again by other Andrew, who's also sharing some Game Boy memories tonight. So yeah, thanks so much for joining again.
Yeah, you're welcome. And especially regarding Game Boy memories, Wario Land. Wario was a big part of my childhood. Little did I know that he's waiting away in a certain other game we just played. But Wario Land 3. I love this game because of its Metroidvania-like feel, and it's so unique. It is. You can really group the Wario Land games together. You've got Wario Land, the original on the Game Boy, or Super Mario Land 3, with VB Wario Land, which are kind of like they play like traditional Mario platforms. But then you've got Wario Land 2 and 3, where all of a sudden Wario can't die, and he transforms into a bunch of other stuff. He becomes like a slapstick character, and it's very much like this in this game. Once again, odd choice for them to put Wario Land 3 on the Virtual Console, but really you could start with either one. I don't think you don't really need to play the first few Wario Land games to actually understand how 3 plays.
Right. Thank you so much, Tyler. It's your first stream of mine you're checking out. I hope you enjoyed and hope you're having a great night. I've always loved that it keeps the Japanese on the save screen for some reason, even though it asks for what language you want.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. I think it's pretty cool, though.
But Wario Land 4 was one of the games actually available through the Ambassador program on the 3DS, so thankfully I got it through that. But yeah, it was always weird that they never released Game Boy Advance games to play through the 3DS eShop. But I would assume that probably all those games that were available through the Ambassador program will probably end up on the Switch Online at some point. But of course, yeah, Wario Land 3, it's more of like a Metroidvania game. You start out with pretty much no power-ups. You can't even pick up enemies. You can't ground pound. Pretty much all you can do is just your basic B attack here. And as you play the game, you eventually, get stronger, get all those abilities that we associate with Wario, and you unlock more parts of the map, and it's just a really fantastic game overall. 25 levels with 4 exits each. It's definitely a pretty chunky game.
Yeah, a lot of replayability and very Metroidvania-like. I've tried to say that, some of the Wario Land games, like this one, definitely feel like a Metroidvania. And it's such a unique game. I think this is the longest Wario Land game if you're just trying to beat it. Completion-wise, that definitely goes to Wario Land Shake It. But, yeah, this one's up there, so hey, I guess they picked the right one to start with considering length, so if you want to be tied it over for a while, I think this takes a good 15 hours on your first playthrough.
Yeah, it's definitely a good length game, especially if you're not entirely sure what you're supposed to be doing. And Wario Land 2 as well, like 50 levels long. Oh, I keep running into the solid block, which again, eventually you unlock the ability to break those, but not quite yet. Oh, I thought I was supposed to go up there all this time. I was just supposed to go into this door. And yeah, so just really great games overall for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Alexander, Metroid Zero Mission on Game Boy Advance, that would be amazing. Metroid Zero Mission is one of my favorite Metroid games. It's cool we're getting Fusion, but Zero Mission is definitely my number one.
Well, I'm sure we'll probably see Zero Mission at some point as well. Hopefully they support it for quite some time. It's not like NES and SNES are kind of they're not really releasing too much for those anymore. So hopefully they support the Game Boy apps for a good while.
Yeah, exactly. Regarding the Ambassador program, I unfortunately never was able to take part in that due to unable to getting a 3DS at the time because of its price. But I'm trying to remember the games that were on there. I think Minish Cap was one of them, and I think Mario Kart Super Circuit. I know, like you said, Wario Land 4 definitely, but I'm trying to think of the games we have right now that have been already put on through the Ambassador program.
Yeah, in fact, we should probably go check out the Game Boy Advance app. So yeah, these are the 9 games that you get through the OG Game Boy, which is pretty cool. Alone in the Dark, definitely the strangest inclusion there, but like you were saying, Alexander, if we get more weird ones like that, that would be cool. There's a lot of weird stuff on the Game Boy. But okay, let's see this Game Boy Advance app. I think people were saying you get a whole 6 games with this one, so let's check it out.
Oh man, that's insane. I think that's how many games I have displayed right now on my my shelf. Some of my favorites, so that's kind of funny.
Alright, so I should probably make the screen wide again, just in case. Yeah, then okay, here you go. WarioWare though, yeah, it's 6 games, but man, oh my gosh, and the e-reader levels, right? Oh, I love the e-reader levels so much.
I was gonna say about that, it makes the Wii U version kind of obsolete. I don't know if that one necessarily plays better, but if they have all the e-reader levels, I'm pretty sure on the trailer that's what they were alluding to. That's exactly, main reason to play this game.
But again, what a weird one to start with. Mario Advance 4. There was 3 that came before it, guys.
I mean, they did better than the Virtual Console, where they put Wario Land 3 and Super Mario Land 2 and Game & Watch Gallery 3.
Right? Let me see. If I do the retro streaming... doesn't look too bad. I don't think it really cuts off anything. No, actually, it's perfect. There you go.
Interesting. I've never seen it say formatting data before when it said at the beginning.
Yeah, that's the thing I guess it says the first time you turn it on.
Huh. That's pretty neat.
I remember how hyped I was to play this when I was a kid. It was one of my most exciting days was rushing home from school and getting this game. And then one of my favorite Christmases ever was getting the e-reader and the level and the new levels. Oh my goodness. Oh, they're all here. They're all here. Awesome. Okay, here we go. Awesome. So before they were ever released on the Wii U, I actually did a series where I played every single e-reader level, which was pretty neat. So if anyone wants to see them all, you can definitely check that out.
Yeah, so I have to say regarding this as well, this reminds me, the e-reader is how I found your channel. It's what I remember you for, Andrew. So I think, you know, not only is this game special for you, but it's special for me too, just how I ended up discovering you, I don't know, like 10 years ago, or something like that. I think, you know, it's so cool to just see all these e-reader levels on the Switch.
It is, right? It's so cool. Because, yeah, these levels are so special to me, and I'm really happy to hear that that was how you found my channel. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, at the time, nobody was really covering the e-reader because it was such a niche thing. And a lot of people, you know, because it was like a failed Nintendo product. I don't really consider it a failed Nintendo product. A lot of people do. It was a unique Nintendo product. I'll say that.
That's a good word for it, for sure.
Yeah, and at the time, you know, now there's a lot more videos about the e-reader, but back then it was just, you know, you'd be lucky to find, like, you know, maybe even a couple that are actually decent quality.
Yeah, I've always loved the e-reader, and like I said, man, one of my favorite Christmases is just remembering that and getting it, and I didn't really, unfortunately, get the chance to experience it much until the next day because we were so busy visiting family and stuff, but oh, yeah, it was just one of my most, you know, anticipated things ever, because it was the first time we had really gotten new 2D Mario levels since pretty much Wario Land 2. Because we were getting Wario Land for a while there, which, you know, I'm not going to complain about that, but otherwise, you know, it went like Mario Land 2, and then there weren't any new 2D side-scrolling Mario games until New Super Mario Brothers, and then to fill that gap, you know, there were these e-reader levels in between, but, good memories, good memories.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, you saying that's flooding back memories of when I got my e-reader for the first time, and playing this game for the first time as well, which I played a couple years before getting my e-reader. But I remember at the time I never really had great internet access, and I wanted to play Mario 3, and I was like, I'll never be able to play these retro games. You're having a super pessimistic mindset. And I saw a friend just playing this on the bus one time, and I was like, I really want to play that game. And I got this idea of, I have this DS game that I don't like, and I want to trade this game with them to get a copy of this game, the GBA. And I wonder if they do it. I was being pessimistic again. I was like, I don't think they're gonna do it. But they instantly was like, yeah, let's do the trade. I traded the game, and I was just so excited to finally bring it home and plug it into my Game Boy Advance SP or DS, and I was just kind of like, you know, holding on to it on the playground, just like super hyped. And you know, this is an amazing game when I played it. And I eventually got my e-reader a couple of years later when I just kind of discovered it randomly in a used game shop. And the e-reader, it's such a phenomenal, like, unique device that something we probably won't see from Nintendo anymore. I mean, hey, we got amiibos and stuff, but you know, nowadays it's just cloud gaming and stuff.
Exactly, right? What I did back there, oh, you respawned anyway, was I accidentally destroyed the Goomba, or rather the Koopa I was supposed to pick up. In Mario World, you can, like, land directly on top of an enemy, and as long as you're holding Y, you'll pick it up. But I always forget that in Mario 3, that wasn't the case. You really have to get it from the side, or else you end up kicking it. But yeah, so you wanted to trade this for someone else who was playing it. I have memories like that too, and that was the great thing about the Game Boy was, you know, you could just come across someone randomly playing it, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I wonder what game they have, and you know, if it was something you hadn't played before, you could completely learn about a new game that way, before the days of the internet, exactly.
Yeah, and you know what game I want on the Game Boy Online? You're talking about trading, this relates to that. I think you said you were trading a copy, or letting someone borrow, like, a copy of, I think it was Donkey Kong Land, one of those games, and I think they traded you Penguin Wars.
Well, they wanted to, and they're like, oh, I swear I'll give it back the next day, and then I never saw them again, so it's a good thing I didn't trade them.
Excellent. Honestly, that's what I want to see on the Game Boy Online, because that's a weird one. I was watching a YouTuber I like to watch, the Runaway Guys. They just put Penguin Wars in their channel, the Switch version, and I'm just like, that'd be so cool if we could get Penguin Wars on the Game Boy. Such a unique game.
Exactly, right? It's definitely a weird one. But here you want to talk about skipping sequels. They have some classic levels from Mario 1, as you've probably noticed as we've been playing them for a few minutes now. So it does all the levels from World 1, and then just randomly 2-2. It's like, yeah. I guess they really wanted to get a water one in there for some reason, but definitely a bizarre inclusion.
I mean, I think it makes sense for them to skip like advance, you know, 2, 3. They can. It's okay if they kind of skip around with the advanced games on the Game Boy Advance, but the Game Boy doesn't make a whole lot of sense. How they're skipping like Super Mario Land 1 and Wario Land 1, 2, and then Game Watch Gallery 1 and 2. Mainly because we already have the NES and SNES online. That has the original Mario quadrilogy on those games, and of course we even have All Stars as well on the SNES online. So it's like I think it can be excused if they jump around a bit. Plus the advanced games, those already jump around to begin with. It's just kind of weird how it's like, Advance 1, we got Mario 2 or Super Mario USA or Doki Doki Panic. Then we've got Yoshi's Island for whatever reason for Advance 2. Then Advance 3, Advance 2 is Super Mario World, right?
Right.
And then Advance 3 is Yoshi's Island. So we're going like Mario 2, then 4, then a spin-off game, then Mario 3. So I'm like, honestly, it's already mixed up to begin with. So why not just make it more mixed up?
Right? But no, that's a really good point about all the other Mario games, advanced games, are pretty much already covered by Super Nintendo releases. I do like some of the additions that they made to some of those games, like the coins that you can collect, the advanced coins in in Mario Advance 1, Super Mario Bros. 2, for example. But overall, you're correct in that Mario Advance 4 is really the most different one, because you get all those E-Beater levels there, which weren't on the Super Nintendo. But here, we got a request for Game & Watch Gallery 3, ask and you shall receive. Just like the cartridge was fresh out of the packaging here. If you pause pausing the game, never heard of that concept before. Yeah, this game gives you lots of, here, read this tip. But alright, let's see how we can do in Turtle Bridge here. Okay, I'm using the D-pad on the Pro Controller. You said you're also using the Pro Controller to play these games, and it can be a little inaccurate at times. Like, if you're just holding a little bit, in the wrong direction, you'll go flying that way. So we gotta be really careful here.
Right? So I actually ended up using the analog stick when I was playing. It just kind of felt better for the Game Boy games, because they feel a little more, I guess, stiff.
Speaking of which, actually, one thing that is really good about the Joy-Cons is that since the directionals are like individual buttons, there's no question about which way you're pressing. So maybe I'll switch over to the Joy-Cons here, actually.
And I wonder, does your NES controllers work for this?
Oh, the extremely laggy NES controller.
Yeah, it'll make it worse. That might be something to try out. Because something I will say as well, unlike the other ones, how can you really release a classic controller for Game Boy and Game Boy Advance? What are they gonna do? Give us like a Game Boy that has like a screen that I don't know, lights up or something? It's like $100. Like, all right, now you can control your Game Boy games to the Switch with like this this Game Boy controller or something.
That's true. Yeah, the NES controller might work. Oh, but you know what? I haven't used it in so long, I'm sure the battery's dead. I hate that about modern batteries, is that just by not touching it, it will, die. My 3D, not my 3DS, no, but, the original DS's or the Game Boy Advance SPs, I guess just different kind of battery, because I cannot play those for, years, and you'll go back to it, and you're like, oh, it still has battery in it. But, modern controllers and stuff just dies by, without even touching it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's so interesting.
Hashtag bring back AA's. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so make sure you take those out of your retro game consoles. Always good to remind people of that, because you gotta.
Oh my goodness! Exploding batteries. Yes, that's awful.
Yeah, I counter that with rumble packs on the N64 and Wii remotes and everything you can name. What I try to keep it out is especially Game Boys. I just think those are too valuable to let acid corrode them.
No, for sure, right? Oh, there's nothing sadder than finding something cool, then opening it up, and it's like, oh, someone left the batteries in it. So, yeah, that's the one good thing, I guess, about modern batteries. But, sometimes, these lithium batteries and stuff, they'll, puff up and explode, too. I've had PSPs ruined. Just arbitrarily, the batteries decide to, expand, and then it, breaks the back casing off the console. It's really, really silly. So, fortunately, modern batteries have their own set of problems.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've had that happen with my Wii U gamepad along with my original 3DS. Just the lithium-ion battery pops up. It didn't ruin the console, but it did kind of warp the plastic, which I don't think it's ever going to be unwarped unless I, buy a replacement or something. But why would I, I don't think I see that really necessary. Just do that.
Right. But yeah, Game & Watch Gallery 3, like all Game & Watch galleries, it starts out with like 5 games unlocked by default, this one being Turtle Bridge. And then this one has 5 more games that you can unlock, but they only feature classic modes. Wow, it was probably a couple years ago now. I actually live streamed this game where we checked out all the different games on it. So if you want to see more Game & Watch Gallery 3, definitely check out that. I've, of course, also done that series on my channel, where for one day every day, in November of 2020, or was it October in 2020? Actually, it was leading up to the release of the new Mario Game & Watch, which was kind of, I think, in the middle of November. So regardless, though, every day for 30 days, I reviewed a different Game & Watch console. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely there's a playlist on my channel. I highly recommend checking that out. But otherwise, yeah, Game & Watch games have always been pretty cool. Turtle Bridge has always been one of my favorites on Game & Watch Gallery 3, so that's why we're seeing how long we can go here.
Right. Yeah, that Game & Watch series you did, excellent. Definitely go check that out. Yeah, the Game & Watch Gallery games are so unique, and of course they have the original, which, you know, they I guess you could say they stand the test of time depending on who you ask. But then you have the remixed Mario versions like this, where, you know, now we have like the I'm trying to remember the name of these bird enemies. I think they were like goons, I think, from Yoshi's Island. And then, you know, Peach and Toad, and, you know, we've got these donut blocks from Mario 3, and, you know, just a whole bunch of cool little remix stuff in there.
That was always one of the coolest parts about the Game & Watch Gallery games, for sure, was like they always incorporated just lots of different Nintendo characters and stuff. Like even in Game & Watch Gallery 4, you got like Waluigi and stuff in there. I'm pretty sure, unless that was just a dream or something, but I'm 99% sure he's in there. Like, I just love seeing how they incorporate all these different Mario series elements into remaking, these classic Game & Watch games. It's so neat, and I would love to see a new Game & Watch Gallery game someday. I think that'd be so cool. It's unfortunate that the series ended after 4.
Okay. Yeah, that would be really cool. Nintendo just likes to, you know, hey, this series is there, let's get rid of it. Speaking of series coming back suddenly, I don't remember this necessarily was a Nintendo series, but you might have seen a game called Fantasy Life. I think it's getting its another entry on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
That was a 3DS game, I think 10 years ago. That's when we last had a game for it. At least I think released in North America. And, you know, we didn't really talk about the other release of stuff for the Direct yet, besides Game Boy and Game Boy Advance.
Definitely my favorite part of the Direct. Oh, no. My favorite part of Direct. Do you know what my favorite part of the Direct was?
Professor Layton.
Oh my gosh, yes. This was definitely my second favorite part. But oh my gosh, nothing can beat Professor Layton coming back after 10 years, everyone. Let's go.
Now we just gotta get Ace Attorney to come back again.
But thankfully, it's been a lot more recent that we've had Ace Attorney content than Layton content, and it's great that they finally localized the Great Ace Attorney. That was good.
Oh yeah, exactly. 900 at least. Well, one miss.
Yeah, let's get to 1,000. That's all we need to do to get all the stars.
I was gonna say as well, Ghost Trick. That's really cool to see that.
Excellent, yes.
I've been wanting to play that game for a while. I think, though, prices are pretty steep on the NES.
Yeah, absolutely.
All kinds of things are going up. I know you said about how you're like, oh, you know, NES games, they went up in price back then, and then they're going down because people are kind of mellowing out. Really,
right.
It's everything right now. It's just, you know, how many retro games can we buy, and how much money can we make off of them, or just kind of like, it's just ridiculous, you know. Just I miss, you know, being able to just, you know, go into a store and, you know, get a game for really cheap. And nowadays it's so weird, like a lot of the used games from retro consoles, more than, you know, some of the modern games, which I gotta say as well, what's interesting, that Metroid Prime Remaster, $40. That's so strange that Nintendo's doing that, at least for, you know, here in the United States of America, they're doing that. Canada different, I'm sure it's $50, but still though, that's cheaper than the $60, $70 price tag of Switch games they usually do. And there's even the physical copy is going to be $40 as well. So what's up with that, Nintendo? That's so weird how they're doing that. They're like, all right, Link's Awakening remake, $60. Kirby, you know, Return to Dreamland sure has some new stuff, $60. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze with just a new funky mode, $60. like, you know, it's just Nintendo just does some strange stuff sometimes. I mean, hey, they're doing what they want to do, but it sure is unusual. Why the Metroid Prime Remaster, you know, why is it only $40? That's such a weird price to give it. Like, you know, Skyward Sword HD, that was $60, and they really didn't add anything new to that. You know, I talked about Tropical Freeze, New Super Mario Bros. Used Deluxe, because that one did have the DLC, so that's fair. Like, there's some that make sense, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has the DLC, you're saving money that way rather than, you know, playing the Wii version, plus there's better content there. Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I think, also has the DLC, and it finally has a multiplayer mode, but, you know, what's up with... I'm not complaining that it's cheaper, but it's just strange, like, why can't we make more of these games like this for $40?
Is that $40 for just the digital version, though, or is it confirmed that the physical?
Too. Yeah, it's strange. It's for the physical as well, $40.
I always assumed that they would just someday release like a Metroid Prime trilogy. So to see them just release like the first one, maybe they were gonna do like a trilogy, and then they decided nah, so they just released like the first one. But okay, there you go. That is that's getting 1,000 points in Turtle Bridge. Let's.
There you go.
Did you have any interest in trying out Tetris multiplayer?
Yes, we could do that. I'm not really good at Tetris. It's funny in my family as well, regarding the Game Boy. My dad always said, I never really cared for Tetris, and he knew everyone at work playing it, and he's like, I liked my Mario Lands. But yeah, I'm all for trying out some Tetris though.
And from what I see, I think that's the only multiplayer game here.
We could do Game Boy Advance though, like Mario Kart Super Circuit.
Yeah, Mario Kart would be good. Someone said WarioWare. Unless, okay, the only multiplayer part of WarioWare is like those unlockable mini games where one person uses the L button and one person uses the R button. Otherwise, the original WarioWare isn't really multiplayer. But we'll definitely try that out before the night is done here too. Oh my goodness, so good, so good. So yeah, let me know when you're ready, or if you're not, I can check out some other games while you're setting up there.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Also, it says, interestingly, it says suspend points aren't available for online play for the Game Boy. That's something I'm pretty sure that works for the NES and N64.
I was wondering the other day if while we were doing all those Mario Party streams, if I could have like cheated with suspend points. I mean, it was just like a hypothetical thought. I was like, I wonder. Oh yeah, it never said that for N64. You're right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Also, someone, Max Howard is asking, have you tried the NES and SNES controllers for Game Boy and Game Boy Advance?
All right, let me blow off the NES controller here.
Gotta get the dust out of the cartridge.
All right,
except in this case, the controller.
Let me see here. It's plugged into the console now, so I'll be able to tell you shortly whether or not it's compatible with the Game Boy games. But otherwise...
Is this the optimal way to play Tetris through the Game Boy? We'll see.
Okay.
And also, RC Shaggy 7. How are the emulators so far? They're nice. There's a bit of lag. Of course, that's to be expected. It's a little more noticeable for me, but I think it's a great way to play Game Boy games through the Switch.
Wait a minute. Oh my goodness! And then it only shows the two multiplayer ones. I was like, why did they get so big again?
Oh, that's so weird.
Oh, yeah, we're starting with that, huh?
Yeah, they have the fabled... Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, interesting. That's new. Huh.
Because, I mean, that's the way it works with Game Boy, right? Is you're normally going to have two consoles, one for each person. You can find out how start titles... I guess that's probably why the suspend points don't work either, right?
Yeah, because you're emulating two consoles and it'd be kind of awkward.
Okay, let's see here.
You have control. Why did they give me control?
Well, so we're both going to have control of our own consoles, right? So, like, I guess you go to two-player.
Oh, yeah, we gotta go with Type A. I didn't even know Type C was a thing. That goes to show how much Tetris I played.
Alright, let's see. Oh, whoop!
Oh. What happened?
I pressed start, and then... nothing happened, so I pressed it again, and I guess I accidentally skipped that next screen, but oh well.
The controls are a little funky. Like, sometimes I can't control, but it seems like you're moving something on my screen.
Well, I think we're each going to see our own screen, right? No?
I'm not... It's a little weird. I'm seeing my own screen. I see Luigi in the top left corner. I'm seeing Mario in your screen. But, yeah, I don't know. I was having little issues controlling there at first. Like, I thought you were the one in control.
Interesting. Alright, you're sending junk already. I was trying to set up for a Tetris there, then a dumb block combination. There's no hold box in this game. What a rip.
Yeah, I've never really been great at this game, but I know so many people that are.
All right, come on, come on.
Yep.
Come on, straight line. Where are you?
I'm
Where
looking
are
for that
you?
Too.
This is not going. Oh no!
I'm not sure
I was doing so well.
I needed that Oh, you lost!
Yeah, I suck. I was trying to set up for the Tetrises, and instead, I think there was like one long one at the very beginning, and I don't think there was any after that. And I was like perfectly set up for some Tetrises there. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I didn't get any long blocks either.
Okay, well, let's try that again. That's me looking like I don't know how to play Tetris on stream. I guess we can't see your screen. Everyone can just see mine, which, you know, makes sense.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Did it say something about a way to like display both screens at once? Because that would be cool if you do like a side-by-side kind of thing. I mean, not because like, you know, I want to cheat off you or anything like that, but...
Right. I thought it did. Of course, there are our own methods we could do. Like, I could share it through Discord.
Oh yeah, that's an option, of course.
But, yeah, that'd be nice, though, because not everyone just has a capture card and, you know, a good internet connection to do that. Although, yeah, that was just a practice match for you. You're shaking it off. Oh!
I would love to see what that just did to you. Oh, I guess I won.
I completely lost. I'm gonna back capture that.
Okay.
It just showed up on my, like, I had no chance. Like, it was just instantly.
That was just one Tetris.
Yeah, I was just taking my time. All of a sudden, my screen is just filled with blocks, and I couldn't do anything, and I just lost instantly.
Nice.
So that's a little unfair. Interesting. Yeah, I don't really expect to win anymore, though. That first match, I think, is the best I'm gonna get, because I am not a fan of puzzle games. I think really the only one I really care for is like Tetris Attack or Panel de Pawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Panel de Pawn's a cool one.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing too. We can get Mario Picross. There's a Mario Picross only on the Game Boy, the Japanese titles. Well, not for. I'm not sure if it's available right now for Switch Online for Japan. But that'd be cool if we got that, similar to how we got Mario Picross on the SNES from the Super Famicom. Oh, now they give me the long block. I don't need that right now.
Right. Yeah, Game Boy Tetris seems to be pretty stingy with the long ones. Well, that was a dumb move. I need to pay more attention to the next box. Whoops.
Because I gotta say, I don't think I've ever really played Game Boy Tetris, let alone multiplayer.
Back in 2019, I actually interviewed on my channel Rich Ambler, the first runner-up in the Nintendo World Championships 1990, and he laid on me a whole bunch of strategies he used in the Tetris portion of that. That interview's still on my channel for anyone who wants to check it out. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
All right, looks like it's first to 4 here. And then after that, you want to go check out some Super Circuit?
Yeah, sure thing, and whatever else there is for multiplayer.
Yeah, so when it comes to the other, like the other game available right now is Game & Watch Gallery 3. I think the multiplayer in that game was unlockable, because I know like you can do Judge 2-player, but I don't remember if any of the games that you have by default have 2-player in them.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
We got Scott the Waz's, favorite Mario Kart Super Circuit in there. Oh. Getting kind of quiet here to focus on the game.
No problem.
Oh, give me the wrong piece.
Don't worry, it's all over now.
Yeah. Oh, I was actually able to survive that.
You survived it? Nice.
For 3 block placements. That's more than my 0 before.
Nicely done. Yeah, it looks like we did best, like first to 4, which was not intentional, but
and it's still going.
It's still going. Okay.
I think it's first to 4 wins, which is interesting. Not like out of 4.
I haven't played multiplayer Game Boy Tetris in so long, So this is a trip for me.
Yeah, the Game Boy link cable was kind of underutilized. It wasn't until Pokemon where it was a big deal. You know, of course, there was Tetris. That was a launch title. I'm trying to think. I'd imagine the link cable came out for the Game Boy when it launched right away because of Tetris.
Yeah, it was like a pack, and there was like a Game Boy bundle you could get, which was like, you know, Tetris with the link cable for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, there's not really a bunch of notable Game Boy games from my knowledge. I think maybe Wave Race? That'd be a cool one to see for Game Boy Online. Oh, I was able to survive 3 block placements again. That was it. Good job.
Thank you. There you go. Mario's very happy. I love the incorporation of Mario and Luigi. That's
and what's interesting is the hand is disabled. I can't clap anymore.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, I guess I will plug one thing because you're talking about channels.
Yeah, for sure. Anything you like.
I will plug my retro game channel where I talk about just kind of a bunch of retro games and stuff. Hack and Quack, and I'll put that in the live chat. If anyone wants to check out just, you know, me talking about unboxing stuff, talking about retro games, you know, I guess similar to like Happy Console Gamer. I'll put a link in chat there. Yeah, I actually, what's funny is when you brought up about this, until you know, wanted to stream and stuff, I was like, you know, I'm gonna work on my Game Boy game I've been putting off since October, or my Game Boy video, where I talk about my whole Game Boy collection, because I think this is a great time to release that.
Yeah, it lines up perfectly, and yeah, for sure. Put your link there. RCFPG says that Judge is the only game in Game & Watch Gallery 3 to feature multiplayer, and it's an unlockable one, so we can't try that at the moment. Wario Land 1 was a launch title too. Yeah, Baseball, Alleyway, Tetris, Mario Land, there's a few there. And Silver Airwolf Ranger, welcome! Hope you're having a great night. We're just checking out some online Game Boy stuff here, and other Andrew, who's also plugging his channel in the chat, which doesn't look like it showed up. Maybe it got moderated out.
Yeah, you might need you know.
What if you did like the @? If you did like @Hackin' Quackin'?
Yeah, I mean, I could try that.
I'll look to see if I can see.
I don't know if it will.
Yeah, it doesn't even say that there was like a blocked message, unfortunately. So I don't know how I would allow that. But if you put like your YouTube handle now.
Like that, and I'll try putting the message in because I actually wasn't logged into that account at the time.
Oh, okay.
See if it will.
But yeah, very good. That was some cool Mario and Luigi there, and I'll see you over in the Game Boy Advance app.
All right, awesome. Yeah. I'm really hoping we see some more amazing Game Boy and Game Boy Advance stuff. One game I really would love to play with you is Kirby the Amazing Mirror. That is an amazing Metroidvania-like game. Have you ever played that?
I have not played the Amazing Mirror. Oh, you can see my NES controllers charging there. We'll go back and try Tetris with that once it gets a little more juice.
I think they actually sped up the Game Boy Advance sound in order to get the screen to transition perfectly off the, you know.
Oh, I hear that. You're right. Yes.
Yeah, as somebody who has, you know, grown up with the Game Boy Advance and heard that tune a multitude of times, that bothers me. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, it also says about suspend points also not being usable for this, so that makes sense.
I always loved how it looks like you know, a computer, like it has like a whole computer theme, the menus in this game. Oh, I always hated I could never fit my name. Like, how many characters is it? Is it 5? We can do AN. Sometimes what I do these days is I just leave the E out because it doesn't really change the pronunciation all that much. Andrew.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Really cool that they put Minish. I've been actually wanting to try and finally beat Minish Cap. And then Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, that's an amazing game. Like, I just made a video back in November on my channel about that game too, some of my memories about that game. So yeah, Game Boy Advance is also just another big one. I have a hard time picking between just, you know, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. Probably if I was to have, I guess, a least favorite Game Boy. I guess I don't really have as fond of memories. I've really owned a Game Boy Color because, like, you know what? Game Boy Color, I got the Game Boy SP if I want to just play some Game Boy Color games.
Right? Yeah. I'm just checking out the stream here. It's like it's not receiving much data, which I don't know why it would say that. Oh god, and then the game started.
There's a couple of hiccups I did notice, but it seems to be it's kind of loading again.
Come on, YouTube. Everything else is looking good, and we did all that streaming earlier, and it looked fine.
Yeah, it's coming and going. We had a whole hour of a stream without. I didn't see any issues, but now it's kind of going up and down.
I just don't like that moment where it's like, if it doesn't receive anything soon, the stream will end. It's like, please no.
That's so stupid. Yeah. See what Twitch does is they give you like a 90-second grace period. Well, actually, you have to turn that option on, otherwise it turns into an entirely separate video.
Ouch.
If you keep streaming, yeah.
Just gonna put in the chat here. Please stand. Thank you.
Oh, you said the same thing too,
no,
Hiccups.
I appreciate the well, yeah, you said it, so I put it in my mind. I appreciate the assistance. OBS is saying like no problemo. Oh,
that's weird.
Like, let's see if I play the game. Let's get some movement and see what's going on here.
OBS isn't showing like a red or like a yellow like symbol. It's showing green, right?
Yeah, it was showing. Well, it's kind of flipping back and forth.
Is the bit rate is it kind of spiking? Like, is it going really high or really low, or is it stapling out?
Yeah, it's unfortunately not stable. Oh no.
We can at least hear you still, and yeah, it is showing data. For me, I can, you know, everything you just said in the voice chat's going through in the stream.
Really? Okay. I don't get it. Come on, OBS, don't fail me now. I mean, thankfully it stayed good for the whole Nintendo Direct. See, it's green again. Hey, it's green. It's green. Please stay green. And unfortunately, when you're on the pause menu, it's like you can't even tell if it's frozen or not.
Yeah.
But I think it's good. Happening. I think the stream's about to catch up with where we're at, and it will be happy.
Awesome.
I think. Oh no, and then it goes back to red again. Any solutions that you suggest for that?
Well, the best thing to do regarding that is kind of wait. I mean, I could say as well, you could stop the stream and turn the quality down, while the bitrate down. What do you usually stream at bitrate wise? You could check that out. I think in settings. I don't know if you can look at it right now considering you're streaming.
Right.
I think it's in settings, video, no, output, and you can see bitrate. If it's usually I put it at 2000. That's a stable one. That's kind of a bare minimum, though. Most people say like 2,500, 3,000.
I'm just looking through. Anything that should be causing problems. So it's strange.
It might just be the fact that you're using your Switch, it's online, and then you're also streaming, and it's, you know, there might be a bit of like a, you know, tussle happening with internet connections and stuff with your devices on your network.
Right. We don't usually have issue. Maybe I'll end the call. I'll call you right back and see if it's the call. Because that's the thing I don't normally do is also do a call like this. So let's end that, and I'll call you back in just a second.
All right.
All right, everyone. Now that the other Andrew's gone, we can say all the mean things about him we've been waiting to say. He's a doo-doo head. No, it's been great having Andrew along with us for the ride. He's of course a huge fan of the Game Boy and of retro gaming in general. He'll put his channel in the chat there, so you can all go check him out because he does some really neat videos talking about his retro gaming memories and his collection and such. Still looking at that square in OBS though. It's like green, and then it goes like orange, red, green. So yeah, it's kind of a ride here. Maybe I'll quit from that altogether. But yeah, thank you everyone for hanging on. It's unfortunate we're having issues like this, but at least the stream hasn't outright ended. It's almost worth maybe ending it and starting like a part 2. I hate when it splits into 2. Things were going so well. What could we do? Okay, so I've opened up settings. Can you change these things